Today is a good day to speak about relationships. Today, Venus and Mars are opposing each other in the sky on the 9th of November. And these two opposing forces, and they are inviting us to question our relationships. They question us to find our inner balance and also to see where we are maybe out of balance. And that can happen in our relationships. So in this video, I really want to share a little bit more about the dynamics, about some of the learning processes I have been going through, about some of the mistakes and the struggles that I see within myself and around me. My name is Severin, and I share on this channel a lot about astrology, but much more on a psychological level, where I'm using the archetypal language in order to bring meaning into our lives and increase the awareness, understand ourselves better, and find clarity of what we want and what we don't want to repeat perhaps anymore. So, relationships. I'm by no means a relationship expert, really. Actually, I'm more a struggling expert. And I am since 8 years in a relationship, in a marriage. I have 2 children with my wife, and we have built a retreat center together. And I'm very fulfilled in my relationship. But at the same time, there are problems coming up, and maybe you feel that as well currently in your life. And that could maybe be that you're just not happy with your relationship, that you feel that you need to get something outside of your relationship, and maybe something is lacking in your relationship. Maybe you don't even have a relationship and you feel really lonely. Or perhaps you have no sex life anymore and you're questioning where is that gone, or what happened to your sex life. Or maybe you have children together and you have so many duties and responsibilities that the joy and the exploration of growth and the fascination for exploring something new is missing. Perhaps you are really happy with your relationship, but the person cannot give you everything that you need, and you would like to bring that from the outside in, but you have guilt and there's a pain because you feel that's not right, because then you are betraying in some way your partner, and so on. There's so many dynamics in relationships that can go on. And I can only reflect or share some light upon where I'm in and what I have learned. So I have to use my own life and speaking for myself. And at the same time, I see some of the things that are happening in general. And I'm trying to just speak out loud some of my thoughts and bring some more awareness towards relationship, because I think one of the biggest things that we are all looking for is that partner outside that meets us, fulfills us, and gives us basically a feeling of acceptance and love, then we can be ourselves. And that's very hard to find, especially if we are the longing one and waiting until that person is coming into our lives. And I think especially when we want children and we have limited amount of time, then the desperation comes even more, and the grasping and looking and wanting to get that person into our lives. And we are grabbing and holding. And from that place, we all know somebody that's needy, somebody that really wants us is not attractive. Like as a man, we are more the hunter and the prey is the woman. So the more the woman is not available, the more we find attracted. We find ourselves attracted to her. And a lot of time we see the opposite. If a man has already a family and already a stable life, there is a security there that the woman feels herself attracted to, because there is stability, but then she knows that person is already taken, and therefore that person becomes even more interesting. So it's like limited goods are more interesting than actually something that it's always on the market. So making yourself rare therefore is attractive. And that means then in the first place that we have to, in order to find somebody, we have to go within. And that means then that we actually have to cultivate love with ourselves, because we cannot receive the love or find the love that we are not able to give ourselves. I think that's one of the biggest things that I had to learn in the last years, where when we are younger, or especially when we are in our teenage years, we have this idea that we could adapt, or we could come into connection with whoever is out there on the market. We just have to try hard enough to change and to adapt ourselves. So I, in particular, I still am, very insecure and trying to change myself in order to be liked, in order to get liked, and in order to get something I want, to try to adapt. But that then is a very bad tactic, because then I'm trying to adjust something and actually move away from something or somebody that I really am in my essence. And a lot of time when we meet somebody then in a situation that we wouldn't have expected, or I'm not speaking here about Tinder or like online dating. I think that's wonderful when we're getting our needs met and we're looking for a sexual compatible partner and we have an adventure. But the problem then is a lot that then the person becomes a material, and then maybe that person is really cool, that person is really sexy, that person is really attractive, that person is really intelligent, or whatever the attributes are that we are liking. But then it's like when you have a lot of music on your iPhone, or when you have a movie on your Netflix, it's like you're watching that movie, you're listening to that song, you're having a date with that man or that woman, but you know in the back of your head, maybe on the market there is the real one that is waiting for you. There's this other song that really, matches your mood better than the one you're currently listening. Or there's perhaps a better movie that you should watch and get more out of the time that you're spending right now. So we're not really engaged with what we are confronted with. We're already thinking about what we are missing or lacking out. So the famous FOMO, fear of missing out, is coming in, and that means we're actually not really available to what's in front of us. And I think that's also then a problem, because again, we are trying to find something that meets us. But where we have to go to is then actually into a willingness to engage. And a lot of times that happens when we are not looking for anything, when we are not craving, when we are not searching, but when we are actually really engaged with ourselves. We are in an internal process, and out of that somebody can meet us. And then because we are on an individual journey, that person can meet us, and then we can say, yes, I like you, but I'm on this journey. And then the person can come on that journey, but then the idea would be that we're still staying on a journey, but we go on our own directions, because a relationship is the most wonderful container that we can all find healing, because we all need to find somebody that loves us, because we all have aspects or domains in ourselves which we don't like about ourselves. Maybe perhaps we don't even know, we don't even see, they're in the unconscious stored, or we don't even like them about ourselves, or we have repressed them, or there is some denial about it. And we then need somebody that we can trust so much that that person can say, well, hopefully I can allow that part of me to come out, even though I don't like the part about myself, but hopefully my partner can love that side in me. And in that, hopefully, he can give me the acceptance that I cannot give myself. So a relationship is a healing container. But first of all, when we come together normally, we are in this romantic phase because we don't know the other person. The other person is a mystery, is an unwritten paper. He could be everything, and therefore we can project our fascinations on that person. And it's so beautiful to stay into that stage and not to reveal your boundaries or what you need or what you want, or maybe your personal problems or your parents or your ex-relationship or your past relationship. But then sooner or later, when this intensity is coming a little bit to a place where it's fading off, because you cannot have every day like a romantic night and not sleep and explore yourself and the other person completely new, there needs to come in some stability, some familiarity, some routine, some predictiveness. Because we are actually looking for that partner that we can live for the rest of our lives. And somehow I feel like, is that an illusion or is that possible? I really don't know. But nevertheless, we are looking for that nevertheless, because we're looking for that love. We are looking for love, and we would love to be recognized, to be seen and admired and supported on our journey. And then the stability, when we're starting to go more in a phase of like where we're growing, then this comes to a part where, especially if you have children, then it can also be that you don't have children and you just longer together, but especially with the example of children, you need to create stability, you need to create a routine, and it's not about you anymore. And even the woman has hormones that are coming into her body that makes her the main caregiver and caretaker of that new person that comes into life. And the baby is drinking her breast, so she has constantly physical contact and perhaps even don't want to be touched by her man, or even her sexual hunger is not existing anymore. And that means like the man is not number one anymore. Maybe he's number two or even number three or four, and therefore he's not getting out what he normally got from his partner. But in that moment, when we're getting more stability, or let's say we could say the same, like a child is coming, or let's say a pain is coming up in your relationship, then maybe it's really important that the relationship can be a container for healing. And that means that there is stability, there is trust, there is love no matter what. And it's not the time to open up, to explore and to shake the relationship up and to try something new. But then that very healing container that we are building in order to come in touch with ourselves can become that very limiting container that we feel strangled by, or that we feel we're not getting our needs met, our needs met. And that is a lot the case, that we are searching for a relationship that can meet everything within ourselves. And that means then our partner has to be our best friend, the person that we can share every secret, that we can feel like brother and sister, that we can be silly and goofy, that we can be romantic, and that we can have serious conversation, then can give us space and can give us intimacy when we need, and it can be the parents of our children, and it can be the person that we can, become all together, and so on. And I think it's just, we're at the place where the relationship is under so much pressure to fulfill so many needs, especially in a time where we are not anymore living with our parents or our grandparents, or our neighborhood is full of brothers and sisters or uncles and aunts, and where we have an enlarged family. In the contrary, like the world is so big that we can choose to find our tribe, that we are growing away or out of our container that is limiting us, and we want to be free, and therefore we're becoming nomads. We are working from home, we want to have open relationships, we don't want to go into commitment, but in us is still the longing for having somebody that really understands us, somebody that can give us the intimacy that we are craving, and somebody that can raise children with us, and so on. And that's a huge problem that we have in society, because then it's like, well, I would like to have that, but I cannot tell you who I am, because I'm waiting for you to meet who I don't know what I want, or where my boundaries are. And that's exactly my point. Like in a relationship, we basically put so much pressure on top of it that the relationship is almost predestined to fail. And we cannot expect that when we have a container where we are in security, and I see that in myself a lot, that's why I'm speaking so passionately about it. Like I'm just sharing my own experience, and it's not in all means an advice or telling what you should do. It's much more like seeing of what I'm going in, that the relationship is a commitment. And you could say there is like 50% compatibility or 90% compatibility. No matter like what the better relationship is, that 10% or 50% that's off compatibility, if that sets you up, if that annoys you, then you can always put your focus on that part that is destroying your relationship. And it's true, and it's a reason to end the relationship. And so you always find a reason why something is not working. And I think that's exactly why we have this feminine and masculine opposition. It's by its nature like there's an opposite drive or an opposite force. And because of that opposite force, there is an attraction, there's a fascination, there is something that we are not, and we want to bring that in our lives because it's an opposite quality that makes us grow. But then in that growth, we are also feeling that this is painful, that this is hurting us. And through hurt, or through pain, through challenge, through having children, through having work together, through having commitment, through having stability, we are becoming more in touch where our boundaries are. How much can we say, yes, I can open up to that, and where is our boundary, and where do I need to say, this is painful, this hurts, and this is where I need space, this is where I need time, and I need that you give me that time without opening up more just because you need that. And that's then the point where we have to say, well, perhaps, as painful as that is, you are not the person that can bring everything in our relationship. And I think in myself, I see that really hurts, because I would like that I am the person that can give you everything. And there's almost like, if I'm searching something outside, there's naturally, and I would say that's a cultural issue, there's a guilt that there's something wrong with me or in my relationship, and I should feel guilty because not everything is being found in my relationship, especially, let's say, about sexuality or intimacy. But sometimes we just have to become honest and start to speak about what actually is alive in ourselves and what we need. And that doesn't mean that we just then have the permission to get what we want and that we can just take that outside, or that we have the free pass for having an affair. That's not what I'm saying at all. But there is something alive in us that we feel and that we have to admit. And I think especially for men, and that was just what's happening to me. Like a few months ago, I had a very transformative experience, and a lot of fears came up. And of course, these fears got projected onto my partner, because my partner is the first and foremost person that I share so much with. So she became the number one enemy. So for me, it took a lot of strength and a lot of courage and a lot of pain to not run away, because there's a part in me that would like to not be trapped, not be caged in my relationship. And there's a part that I feel I would like to express. And I think naturally a woman, I would say, has more the capacity to give herself towards a situation, to accept that she is now a mother, or that certain things are not possible. And especially when you are becoming a father, this is really exhausting and really hard, because you know that you are not just a father in this lifetime, or this is not just what you want to be. And your inspiration comes not just from this domain, even though it is very fulfilling and very growing. And then there comes this pain that you feel you're not living your purpose. You're not living out what you're here to. And then there can be that in that fear of missing out, you're running, away from what you have built. And then by running away, you're leaving behind, let's say, a partner that is hurt, that you have now violated her trust, that you have made a mistake that takes a lot of healing to regain that trust again. And perhaps as the man, you're coming to a place where you now have the divorce, you have the freedom that you were looking for, but now that you're there at this place that you wanted to be, you realize that you're actually alone. And now you realize again, now actually, that's not what I want, because I'm a human being and I want to be seen, I want to be cared for, I want to be nurtured, and I need somebody that loves me when I cannot love myself, because we all come to that place where we are failing, where fear or anxiety or old wounds are coming up, and we need something that tells us it's okay, I'm here for you. And that perhaps then is really important, that we have elders. And we're really living in a time where elders are rare. We are in a real time where elders are a rare good. And to hear that it's not just about, living our freedom or stepping up into our truth, but that even though we feel that there is another side that we need to engage with, and that means then we have to face our biggest fears. And nowadays we are externalizing that work a lot by taking mushrooms or ayahuasca, doing a spiritual trip, going somewhere completely else, or doing some physical work, while actually another person is the most potent catalyst or the most potent substance that you can get in your life. And to face then together your fears doesn't mean that you're necessarily trapped, but that you admit where you're human, where you are not trusting yourself, where you're failure, where you are afraid of, and what your real desires and wishes are, without saying I'm going now to get them and I'm giving up on us, but by saying this is me and showing your vulnerable side, and then just waiting and hoping that the other person can now feel you and therefore also open up. And out of that, a huge healing catalyst is created, trust is gained, and perhaps you're even gaining what you were most afraid of that you would never be able to get, because you were willing to look at it, to express it, and to share it without taking it. So this is a little bit of what I wanted to share, and I really want to repeat again, this is not advice. This is just me finding language for something that I'm going through, learning, and this is just me musing and using this day today where Mars and Venus are in opposition to explore these two qualities and paying homage to intimacy, to man and woman, or if you are gay or if you're lesbian, it doesn't matter what your gender is, where you feel this attraction to this opposite pole, where you engage with somebody, and how this container is there for growth and for healing and for bringing in playfulness and seeing how we can grow together rather than trying to be strong and walking our own way and trying to be superhumans. I hope, like always, that you got something out of this, it sparked, it gave you a different perspective, and please share with me your opinions and your thoughts and your reflections, and if you liked it, then tell me what you liked, and please subscribe. This is a channel where I'm using more and more as a place to find my own voice. Thank you very much for listening, and until next time, goodbye.